Hello, everybody, and happy America 250 week. We're just a couple of days away from the big event that, we have been thinking about for years, but especially the last years, we've been going through this new era of youth service in America listening tour. And it's all come down to this of we are announcing the strategy this week. So thank you all for joining us for this. I know a couple of you on the call were with us at Wingspread, so a lot of this will sound fairly familiar. But we'll give an overview of the background of what we've been working on for the last year, and then really dive into the strategy overview document that's available on our website at ysa.org/new era. I'm joined by the rest of the YSA team, Karen, Scott, and Steve. All give little waves. And we'll try to leave time at the end for kind of open discussion and Q&A, and everyone can jump in on that. But I'll kind of breeze through the overview content fairly quickly, and really especially for folks who will be watching this recording later. We know it's a busy week and lots of people are already out on summer breaks and taking a really long weekend, as I think we all deserve. So just jumping in, I think you're probably all fairly familiar with YSA, but we turned 40 years old this November, so another big anniversary this year. And our mission has always been some version of making sure that every young person growing up in America has opportunities to contribute to their communities through service. And so we're on a mission to make working together for the common good, that common expectation and common experience of every young person. And we know that we're fairly far away from that vision of every young person having these types of opportunities. When we started thinking about this several years ago, we took a look at a lot of the data out there and kept seeing the same range of numbers again and again and again of about mid 20%, maybe 30% on a good day for a good measure. We felt pretty safe in saying that we think about 1 in 4 young people in America regularly participate in different ways, which of course leaves 3/4 out. And as of today, that's about 64 million young Americans who just don't have regular opportunities to participate in their communities. And that's backed up by 2 national prevalence surveys that we did a couple of years ago, one of K-12 schools and one of after-school youth development, community-based and faith-based orgs, so kind of in school and then everything out of school. And you can see other than that 37% of students who participate in some form of community service through their schools, that all of the other statistics are in the teens of the percentage of young people in America that participate through these different institutions in these different forms of participation. So we know we have a long way to go, and that we need to be thinking about this work differently, and that we can't just keep doing the same thing that we have been doing for 40 years and expect to greatly increase that percentage. And really wanted to use kind of this moment in our history as a time to drive this conversation. We recognize that young people are not particularly positive about the future direction of the country, or even on that democracy itself is the best form of kind of functioning as a society, and really want to use America 250 as a moment to have those conversations about how we build the democracy we want for the next 250 years, young people's role in that, and to really use this as a launching moment for at least the next decade of building this new era of youth service in America. So I want to give a little bit of background on the work we've done over the last year. We have done this national listening tour over the last 9 or 10 months. We started really talking to partners at the local level last fall. We had forums and a survey and a wish wall, a virtual wish wall, where people were able to provide kind of their kind of vision for what they saw the future being. We then took all of that information and brought it to conversations with statewide organizations over the winter. We hosted about 45 statewide partner forums And Jim, who I know is on the call from Volunteer Tennessee, was one of the hosts of those of the Tennessee Forum. And so there were again about 45 of those all across the country that had a couple of thousand people involved across all of them. And then we continued. The survey was still open through that period, and then our partners at Points of Light also did a survey around their national volunteer strategy, and had a lot of good responses from both young people and youth serving organizations. That was their term, and so we took all of that feedback into this as well. We then moved to talking to national partners this spring, and the signature kind of culminating event of that was a convening or a summit we did at Wingspread, the Frank Lloyd Wright property in Wisconsin. So we had about 40 folks representing 30 different organizations, including a couple, two, three of you on this call, who we spent 3 days together along the shores of Lake Michigan, really diving into all of what we've heard from phases 1 and 2, and really fleshing out details on this strategy. We started with 40 potential ideas or strategies at the beginning of this that we thought were worth exploring. And through this process, we've narrowed that down first to 20, and then to we were aiming for 10. We went with 12 because people just couldn't give up the last couple ideas. And so when we go through the strategy, you'll see 12 kind of signature ideas that we'll be focused on for the next few years. And with that, I'll note that we have not, completely forgotten about the other 28 strategies. Some of them are embedded into other strategies, and some, will be left for the later years of the campaign. We hope to get to all of them eventually, but recognize we can't focus on 40 big ideas. We have to narrow down. And so we've selected 12 that you'll see. Want to go through some quick kind of definitional things as before we get into the details of the priorities. And again, for some of you, this will be kind of a refresh of what you saw at Wingspread. So I'll move this through fairly quickly. But just to say, we define youth service or youth participation as broadly as possible, basically every form of that young people can take in participating in their communities. And you'll see kind of all of the major ones listed. But again, we want this to be as comprehensive as possible in providing opportunities of all kinds. And we want to make sure that these opportunities and strategies are applicable to partners in all sectors, kind of everywhere that young people live. So in school, out of school, in the community with their families, and of course looking at kind of government programs that they interact with as well. So again, kind of think about we wanted a little bit of something for everyone. We know we can't be everything to everyone, but we want to offer at least something to everyone. And again, across all of those forms of participation and all of these partners. And that we have a particular focus on engaging young people who we know face higher barriers than others, and where we know that results in even lower participation rates than that 1 in 4. So looking at young people from low-income families and neighborhoods, young people of color, young people in rural communities, and then all kinds of groups that we use the term youth not usually asked to serve as a contrast to that. I think most people, the first thought when thinking about any of these groups is how are we serving them? And we really want to flip that script and make sure they have power in their own lives and in their communities, and not just always being served or done at or to. And really focusing on how all of this participation leads to again, young people, communities, and democracy thriving because young people feel like they belong and they matter, and that they have meaning and purpose in their lives, and hope for the future, and kind of their role in creating that better future. So those were a lot of the kind of overview, kind of definitional things that we had in mind in developing the strategy. You'll see that the strategies are organized in 4 categories. And we've based that on these four types of barriers that we see that young people and organizations and institutions face around the lack of opportunity and expectations, the lack of knowledge and skills, the lack of access to resources and particularly the funding, and then the lack of belief that their participation will actually make a difference and have any kind of an impact. And you'll see here the overall rankings from the survey that we referenced as part of this listening tour of which ones on a scale of 1 to 4 how the barriers were ranked. So you see the funding barrier being the top, the lack of opportunity and the lack of sense of efficacy kind of in the middle, and then the lack of knowledge and skills the least, but still significant kind of on the scale that we were measuring this on. So good news is that we think we have some of the beginning of answers to those barriers and rooted in what YSA's program strategy has been for a long time around activation campaigns, funding and resourcing, training and skill building and professional development, and then recognition and storytelling. So you'll see as we dive into the strategy that's how it's organized. And so I'm going to switch to the website and the strategy document in just a minute. But you'll see it's kind of organized in, again, these four categories that we talked about of the four barriers and the four strategies to address them. And then at some different levels. So really, looking towards the bottom, recognizing that this is based on kind of the direct programming that YSA has done for decades and that all of you and our other partners have done. Recognizing that that's the base of all of this work, but that we want this to be bigger than any one organization, any one program, and so kind of on top of that kind of programmatic base, we have a policy agenda. We have field infrastructure and capacity building and systems change priorities, and that's really the 12 kind of big ideas that we've been referencing. And then some collective impact priorities that will cross-cut the field, really in thinking about YSA's role as the backbone organization in this, kind of the catalyst organization for this effort. Again, this is not just YSA's effort. We want this to be, every partner we work with involved in this. But we are happy to serve as kind of the convener and the catalyst to facilitate these conversations and to facilitate this joint work. So with that, let me switch over to our website. And again, you can find this at ysa.org/new era. And you'll see we are 3 days, 9 hours away from the 4th of July when this officially launches. And you'll start, there's a little bit of an overview document that has a lot of what I just went through, kind of background on our thinking, kind of what we set out to do, a little bit about the listening tour. And then below that is the heart of the strategy. And I'll zoom in as much as I can here. And so you'll see again at the top those collective impact priorities, and we'll have opportunities for different working groups to contribute thinking and work around each of these. Really, coordinating national partner relationships, coordinating state level work. We will be rolling. One of our key next steps is to roll this out at the state level. And have state level versions of this strategy developed over the next year. And then really looking at all of those things that, kind of any field needs to have the capacity. And so funding, research, measurement, evaluation, a policy agenda, how we look at technology, how we look at communications and marketing for the field, and building public awareness. And so we have kind of specific goals around each of those, again, kind of collective impact capacity building areas. And again, there will be opportunities for some of the working groups that I'll talk about, and some other advisory groups on some of these for folks who are interested in a particular area to participate in. But this is the heart of the strategy of those 12 big ideas in the four categories. So I'll go down each column by column and explore. There's three in each one, and talk a little bit about what our goal is. Uh, as we dive into this, there's very high level kind of goals and aspirational details in this, but none of these have been fully fleshed out. That's what the working groups and the work with all of you will be over the next months and years. And so, we're kind of putting the vision out here, and these big ideas that have come out of this listening tour, but recognizing that, there's a lot more work to do in diving into the implementation level details of each of these. So around the activation campaigns and actually making sure there are more opportunities for more young people. The first priority is around providing systemic opportunities for youth voice, youth leadership, and youth decision making. We recognize that the place most people are going to start is, a youth council or a youth board or having youth members on an existing board. But recognizing that we need to go beyond that and have more types of these opportunities in different ways, because there's only so many slots on a board or on a youth council that that it's going to be the vast minority of young people who participate in that way. And so recognizing, yes, absolutely, we want a lot more youth councils, youth boards, youth on every board there is, but also recognizing that there needs to be other models kind of beyond just that one for youth leadership and participation in the decision-making process. The second activation priority is really around working with national youth development organizations. So think, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Campfire, 4-H, FFA, the Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCA programs, all of those types of national organizations that have a local chapter or local affiliate structure that young people are members of. And we know collectively they reach millions and millions of young people. They can reach a whole lot more, that they're all facing kind of membership declines over the years and membership retention challenges. And so and we know the research says that, if you are a member of one of these organizations, you are just so much more likely to participate in your community. And so we want to work with them to, one, kind of drive a whole lot more young people to be joining and be members of these organizations. And then really working with those organizations kind of through their affiliate structure to make sure that the national priorities around service or community engagement or citizenship actually do filter down to every local club and chapter, and that every member does actually have those opportunities within those organizations. And the third is around really supporting and working with the young people who are already engaged, the 1 in 4, to really reach their peers and to kind of flip the mindset from just them doing kind of direct service on the types of things that they were already working on, and how really they can be positioned as really kind of community organizers to engage their peers. And we have some different ideas on how to do that. So those are the three kind of big ideas around activation campaigns. Moving on to funding and resourcing, the first priority is really exploring the development of a common grant application system for the field. If you're familiar with the Common College application, taking a similar approach. And really looking at, for all of the organizations that provide, grants like YSA does, and we know there are dozens of our partners who, who we promote every year in our youth service briefing that have grant programs of how we put all of those together into one system so that partners on the ground can more easily apply for multiple grants, go through, reporting systems with one report, so that they're not having to, manage a bunch of different processes to kind of piece together a bunch of mini grants and kind of make the whole process more efficient and effective for partners at the local level. And then really looking at two different types of funding streams, hopefully that would use this common grant application system. But the first is really around more funding for at the kind of organizational or institutional level to provide the capacity to provide this type of programming, with a particular focus on making sure that they have the funding or support for the staffing that's necessary. And we very clearly heard that's the number one barrier for most organizations is they'd love to do more of this programming and engage more young people, but they just don't have the staff capacity to do it. And so we recognize that the funding needs to be kind of more flexible and open to supporting those staffing costs, and not as limited to maybe kind of direct program implementation costs. And then the other stream of funding that we really want to continue to build out is that kind of local program or project level funding, and with a particular emphasis on figuring out how to provide transportation and meet that need. And that was one of the other kind of top barriers that we heard again and again through this listening tour, especially in rural areas of, if you're not doing the activity kind of on site, at the school or at the program site, that transportation is often the biggest expense. And so really making sure that we're addressing that need. The next category is around that training and skill building and professional development for staff and program leaders. The first priority is really around kind of building that learning community and providing kind of regular ways for people to learn from each other and to look at things like a train the trainer network. We recognize that each of most of the national organizations in the field have some type of training program and training structure, but we can't travel everywhere all across the country all the time to provide the professional development that we know is needed out there. And so how really looking at how we build that capacity and use all of the great content we've all developed at the national level and really make that kind of a turnkey set of content and prepare local folks all across the country to teach each other. And we know everyone is good at something and really wanting to make sure that people have those opportunities to just connect and learn from each other and feel part of kind of part of the field. And then really diving into kind of more training and flexible and adaptable and snackable materials for the adults and program staff within schools and after school and youth development programs, and then for the same thing for project and program leaders on youth, and particularly thinking about how we make sure we take kind of all of the right content that we've developed over the decades and make sure that it's presented in kind of new, accessible, and relatable ways. We know, most young people are not going to find a PDF toolkit all that useful, and recognizing that we can't abandon the core ideas of the content, but recognizing we need to present them in new and accessible ways. And utilize things like AI that just we didn't have 3, 5, and 10 years ago. And then finally, on recognition and storytelling, really looking at how we help young people tell their own stories and how we help the adults tell stories about the young people that they're working with, and really focusing on kind of collaborations and partnerships, both with kind of traditional media and with social media. And influencers and all of the rest of how to actually kind of get those stories out there. The next one is around providing more recognition opportunities, including graduation honors, scholarships, different award programs, And the signature idea under this category is really looking at an alternative to the President's Volunteer Service Award that we know has been frozen for the last year or so. Not clear if or when it will come back. And we've also heard, that people had, people wanted a similar award that maybe functioned in slightly different ways. Uh, and so, very clearly heard that people are missing the PVSA and that there's room for an alternative to that, even if it does wind up coming back someday. And then the final one is really around looking at how we work with school systems, both at the K-12 and higher ed level, around making sure that there's opportunities for academic credit, skill certification, kind of connection to career exploration, career skills, exploring job pathways related to this, and really looking at the systems that sit behind that. So those are the big 12 ideas, and then you'll see kind of some policy agenda ideas around that would support all of that work, and then the direct programming that I mentioned that we're kind of trying to build on top of around all of this. So. Um, so with that, I know I just threw a whole lot of information at you, and went very quickly to stay within our half hour because we realize it's a busy week as people are trying to wrap up before the holiday weekend. But I'll get into a couple of next steps, but want to pause if anyone has any uh, questions or points of discussion that they want to bring up.
It's big and it's bold, Mike. It looks great. And you can tell there was a lot of input from a lot of different people, which is, I think, one of the real gifts.
Yeah.
Great job summarizing.
Over 2,000 people through all of those phases. So
Yep.
I think, and we heard. I don't think anything that absolutely floored us or shocked us or surprised us, but some very clear trends, and the same top things that we heard, pretty consistently over the last 9 months from a ton of different people. So, all right. In terms of next steps, I'm just going to drop into the chat two links. One is. For those of you who are at Wingspread, if you haven't yet submitted the partner survey or the partner interest survey, and then there's a version for all the partners who weren't able to join us at Wingspread. That's the first link there, and basically that asks for your interest in if there's any of these particular areas that you want to focus on with us in the coming years. We will have four different working groups uh, for for national partners to join. And there'll be one for each of these strategy categories, and then one for each of those four sectors. So the K-12, the youth development out of school time, the community and faith-based, and the state and local government. So there'll be those kind of 8 working groups that are really going to flesh out the details of all of this and do, we hope a lot of joint program design, joint fundraising, and partnership on the actual implementation of this. So we'll be having the first round of those conversations through July and August. And so the best way to indicate your interest in participating in those will be that first survey link, the all other partners link in the chat. And then just as a heads up, we'll also be starting to roll this out at the state level with state and local partner forums around 9/11 Day that we'll be sending out information on soon. And then those we really hope, be the kickoff to ongoing state level alliances that will convene regularly to do this work at the state level, and looking at rolling those out. Again, kind of kicking off with around with those September forums, and then continuing to come together throughout the rest of the year. So So we are all available. You can reach out to any one of us if you have thoughts, questions, other things that you think we should be thinking about. And with that, I'll again just say thank you for taking time out of what I'm sure is a busy and short week for everyone. And we look forward to working with you all in the years ahead on implementing this very big vision. And we thank you for your partnership in doing that. Thank you, everybody.